Patreon subscribers, how's it going? Today we're going to be breaking down some of the biggest news stories of the week and my take on it. So, let's get into it. The Sorcerer Supreme is here, and oh my gosh, he is cleaning up at the box office, already breaking in $86 million in its international debut in 33 markets. Mind you, the film has not been released here in the United States, and I am a bit bitter about that, because I am dying to see this, and all of you across the pond already have. Ugh. By comparison, the film has already opened up 37% ahead of Guardians of the Galaxy, 49% ahead of Ant-Man, 23% ahead of Captain America the Winter Soldier, and 1% ahead of Thor the Dark World. This is really, really good numbers. There you go, it seems like Doctor Strange is going to be another Marvel hit, which at this point, is anybody really surprised, really? Marvel's been doing this for so long. However, I have heard criticisms that they've got the same problems that they have in all the other movies. Really fun visuals, really nice story, cliche villain, all that stuff. Marvel, you might want to start stepping up your cage and the villains, you know what I'm saying? Trying to make your villains a lot better, because Netflix is pretty much kicking your ass on that. And yes, I know that Marvel, Netflix, and Marvel, the movies, they're all in the same universe, but they are different departments, and I'm going to say their villains are better than the movies. Just throwing it out there. In other sad movie news, Deadpool 2 has lost its director. Yes, the director of the famous Deadpool film that has raked in a shit ton of cash and was the one that pushed for the R rating along with Ryan Reynolds, came to a disagreement with star Ryan Reynolds over the direction of the film, and he decided to up and quit. Rumor has it that Tim Miller, the director of the first Deadpool film, wanted a mega budget action superhero movie, while Ryan Reynolds wanted to keep the film on a smaller scale. They both met with the studio, and the studio decided to side with Ryan Reynolds on this. So Tim Miller said, you know what? I'm done. I'm walking off the project. I'm actually going to go inside with Ryan Reynolds on this one. I think Deadpool 2 should be a small scale film, simply because of the fact it forces the writers and producers and directors of the film to work harder on it. It forces them to kind of be more creative and not rely so much on the special effects and CGI and all that crazy stuff that a lot of people rely on. It's just a better film overall in my opinion, and I think that because of the fact that we're getting so many of these huge and bombastic superhero films, I'm getting tired of it. I'm getting fatigued by it. And I like the fact that Deadpool was a breath of fresh air because they didn't go that route. They decided to tone it back, tell a smaller story, and make it fun and interesting. And I think if they went this huge superhero epic that Tim Miller wanted, it would have just ended up in not necessarily disaster, but it would have lost the spirit of the first film, and it would lose what made that first film so special. Apparently it wasn't just the tone that Miller and Reynolds disagreed with. According to sources, Miller wanted to hire Kyle Chandler to be Cable, and Reynolds disagreed. Personally speaking, I'm not that sold on that choice, but hey, we won't know, and now we definitely won't know what it could have been. I'm more of a Stephen Lang kind of fan. I think he definitely fits the role a lot better. He's a big, older guy, and that is exactly what I think about when I see Cable. Walking Dead is in the news this week, and not for a really good reason. The Parents Television Council has gone on record as saying that they thought the Season 7 premiere was too much. Way too much. And if you don't know who the Parent Television Council is, I don't blame you, I didn't know who they were either, but it's apparently a group of right-wing conservatives. I almost said white ring. Right-wing conservatives that are trying to make television safer for kids. And I quote, "Last night's season premiere of The Walking Dead was one of the most graphically violent shows we've ever seen on television, comparable to the most violent of programs found on premium cable networks. It's not enough to change the channel, as some people like to advocate, because cable subscribers, regardless of whether they want AMC or watch its programming, are still forced to subsidize violent content. This brutally explicit show is a powerful demonstration of why families should have greater control over the TV network they purchase from their cable and satellite providers, yada 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 yada." You know what? Here's some advice. How about you change the channel? I know you criticize it, saying, oh, it's not enough to change the channel and all that stuff. How about you parent? How about you do that? Huh? How about you actually pay attention to what your kids are watching instead of sticking in front of an iPad for 13 hours a day and hoping that the world will censor them from bad and disgusting things? Look, the fact is, times are changing. We don't live in the 1940s anymore. We don't live in the 1950s anymore. TV is changing. And, you know, it's getting bloodier and it's getting gorier and it's getting more realistic. You as a parent, and I'm talking specifically to these people, You as a parent need to stand up and need to be able to recognize when something is and is not appropriate for kids. There will always be media that's going to be dedicated to adults, and there's going to be media that's going to be dedicated to kids. There are programs out there, tons of them, that are dedicated to kids. Walking Dead is not one of those things. If you are having your 6-year-old kid watching Walking Dead, you have a problem. It's probably not a good thing. To go and bash a TV show that is clearly directed towards adult with plenty of viewer discretion advised moments before people die and before people get eaten by zombies, well, if you're letting your kid watch that, that's on you. Rounding out the top of our news this week is that we finally have our first look at the new Justice League of America group that's going to be written by Steve Orlando and art by Ivan Reis. The lineup consists of Batman, Black Canary, Lobo, Vixen, Killer Frost, the Atom, and the Ray. Okay, this is kind of weird when you think about it because Lobo on a Justice League of America team. You know what? I don't know, but hey, I am willing to give this a shot. Consider me super interested to see where they go with this. I am hyped about it, but I'm also cautiously optimistic. Steve Orlando is a very solid writer, and I think he can do something great with this. Now, the lineup, like I've already said, it's weird, especially Lobo, because when you think of Lobo, you think he's a villain, he's not really a good guy, and all this other stuff. I also like the fact that they're using pre-New 52 Lobo. They're not using the Twilight scrawny Lobo. They are using the main man, the cigar-smoking, motorcycle-riding badass that we all know and love. But still, cautiously optimistic. I'm not sure how that dynamic is going to work on this team. Hey, give it a shot. Why not, right? Worst that can happen is that it's terrible. That about does it for this week's news, guys. There really wasn't a whole lot going on. It's been kind of a quiet week, aside from the whole Tim Miller Deadpool fiasco. I really do hope that the person they get to work on Deadpool 2 has kind of the same vision that Tim Miller had for the first one, where it was a small scale. It was a super fun film, and it was pretty self-contained, not this grand operatic thing that Tim Miller wanted to go for the second one. I really don't see that working for a character like Deadpool, so I'm hoping, fingers crossed, I get the second one right. But thank you so much for checking out this video. You guys are awesome as always. Thank you. You guys are what's pretty much kept this channel going alive, and of course the ones that share and subscribe and hit the like button and all that stuff. But you guys really are the ones that actually make this possible because you guys are paying me. So thank you so much. But joking aside, really, thanks guys. I do appreciate it, and I'm glad you enjoy this stuff, and I'm glad to do it. So I will see you soon, and I love you.